Why do recent EVO Japan numbers have the fighting game community worried about the survival of Tekken 8? While others call fake news, content creators like Rooflemonger bring up a good point. And all this leading to the question, did we judge MK1 too hard? Let's go.
Couldn't look away from the train wreck. You can blame it on the tech or the disrespect. The free play back button check. Button check.
What is up, Butt Check family? It is Thursday, so let us jump right into these buttons that need to be checked. Thank you guys for always taking the time to subscribe. Chapters down below. Now let's get it. This was posted a couple of days ago from Incross, right here saying, EVO Japan 2026, close to a month after registration opened, around 3,000 signups. Check out the numbers real quick. Street Fighter 6 obviously in the lead, over 2,000 signups. We're talking about 2,506. Right underneath it, in second place, Guilty Gear, 190. Look at the difference. We're talking about 2,500 versus 190. Underneath that, VSAV, is that Vampire Slayer? That's 132. Above, by the way, Tekken 8. Tekken 8 has 130. Street Fighter 6 has over 2,500. Tekken 8 has 130. And you see the rest of the numbers down below. Obviously below 130. I mean, you got 2XKO at 106, City of the Wolves 106, and it continues on all the way to Under Night In-Birth at 32. Then from there, getting even deeper, I see Fighting Games Daily posting saying, Street Fighter 6 has totally consumed the FGC. I'm happy if fighting game is mainstream again, but the number difference between fighting games is honestly depressing. If you're a beginner, please try other fighting games too besides Street Fighter. And you see the little pie chart right here. All of this is Street Fighter 6, and these are the other fighting games that we currently have. And I noticed beneath that, they start bringing up the money issue. They're like, well, people are just chasing the bag. Right here saying people are after that bag, period. But then Fighting Games Daily says, in that case, it doesn't make sense because SNK Games, or SNK, yeah, game numbers to be down too. SWC has a prize pool of 4.1 million. And that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I expected City of the Wolves to go up, a lot of the SNK games, just because their numbers are through the roof. They're exceeding Capcom at this point, right? We're talking about 4.1 million. I was thinking like the SWC this year, or this time around, is going to be way bigger than last year. But maybe, I guess the argument can be made that it doesn't really make too big of an impact because the community knows at the end of the day, they're never going to see that money. It only goes to the top 1% of the genius players in the world. We're just casually playing because we enjoy it. And if we don't really enjoy it, the numbers really ain't gonna change. Then more adding right here saying, absolute major problem that everybody's playing one game. That's not good for our scene at all. And Street Fighter is literally the most beginner friendly by a mile, other than Vampire Saviors, which is an ancient game. And more with the problem is, if you're new and got really into Street Fighter 6 like me, you don't want to play anything else because you want to hone your skills ASAP. I plan to branch out after getting to Master, but then I said when I get to High Master, now I want to aim for Ultimate Master. And beneath that saying, I didn't think I would ever see a major content creator actually be brave enough to point this out on their own platform on purpose. Well, I should touch on the late side, but maybe we can still fix things if we really wanted better fighting game literacy and results, that is. And then to the quote retweets it is, right here saying Tekken 8, 130 entrants is crazy, showing this nice little Tekken devs scene, which a lot of people use for different, dev scenarios. But I see Tekken Gamer, this account saying Tekken 8 EVO Japan numbers being less than 150 is sad and should be a wake-up call to BNE and Tekken devs in this aggressive, brainless 50-50 game guessing, and it's not what players want. And that one has about 455 likes, but continuing on saying Season 3 is really going to decide whether or not Tekken has a future. And beneath that, wrapping it up saying, I've been tagging this a lot, my thoughts on how to fix this dog shit game. But then you got the other side of the fence calling fake news, or like, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes right here, saying this discourse is why TOs hate showing their numbers early. Nobody knows how to interpret them. Street Fighter 6 has a cap that will likely hit it, so all Street Fighter 6 players need to register now to get in. The other games will see a huge waves in reg closer to the end of normal reg in March. Then I see Majin Obama actually responding to that original tweet from Incross right here saying, I want you to know that this tweet has poisoned my timeline with over-the-top or exaggerated agenda/narrative pushing that ignores some constant or even yearly trends about registration early versus final numbers for some specific communities. Nobody is talking community nuances or ceilings. He responds saying, yeah, I let it get the best of me. I assumed a lot of the nuance regarding early bird versus versus late signups, especially as circuits are announced, would be obvious, but I have to remind myself it's not how it goes. Then from there, I noticed Rooflemonger actually posted this about yesterday or the day before, talking about EVO registration numbers show Tekken 8 might be in trouble, but he brings up some really interesting points. Check this out.
Darkstalkers has more entrants than Tekken 8. Which is a very salacious thing to say, because Darkstalkers is 30 years old, right? Vampire Saviors came out in 1997. Now, to be fair, since this is a moving target, I just took the recent poll of the actual numbers at the moment of me making this video, and Tekken 8 has slightly pulled up ahead of Darkstalkers, but not by a lot. And even though we're working on a smaller scale compared to everything to Street Fighter, Guilty Gear Strive is still a good deal ahead of Tekken 8. So losing to Street Fighter is whatever, especially in Japan, because everything's going to lose to Street Fighter in terms of numbers. But your main competition points in terms of entrance here are Guilty Gear Strive, which is an older game that came out in 2021. And then the next closest, which was beating it for a while and may yet beat it again, was a game from 1997. And these kind of numbers, especially compared to last year, where Tekken 8 had a lot more entrants, kind of take a point to maybe just how disastrous Tekken 8 Season 2 really was, at least competitively. Generally speaking, with rare exceptions, year over year, any game's going to have fall off over time in terms of numbers. That's just kind of how that goes. But with these early indication numbers, Tekken 8 ain't going to be hitting the numbers it hit before. Always safe bet to say it ain't going to hit those numbers, whereas Street Fighter might very well be one of those rare exceptions where it will beat the numbers it had last year. Like the cap for EVO Japan this year upcoming for Street Fighter is 7,000 players, and it may very well realistically reach it. Nominally meant to be the number 2 game in fighting games, to one, not even be able to beat Guilty Gear anymore, but potentially lose out to a nigh on 30-year-old game. That ain't a good look.
So let's stop right there. So you have a bunch of different perspectives on this. I'm saying, Rooflemonger bringing up some good points that it's regional, but also if we follow the trends, it doesn't look like Tekken 8 is on track to reach the numbers it did the previous year. He also goes on to say in this video that it is obviously the more the game goes on, there's some drop off. If we're not seeing constant content or if the game's not improving, there's bound to be at least a little drop off. Now with Tekken 8, in light of recent events, we could tell there was a lot of drop off, but you have other arguments saying, well, it's also in Japan, once again, the regional thing, and it's very expensive to go out there. So of course the numbers are not gonna be all that. Then you got the bag argument. Well, Street Fighter 6, you got the Cap Cup, you got that 1 milli, you got EWC, but even Tekken 8 has EWC. But also, and maybe the main point is like early registration and the cap. They're like Street Fighter players, they have to go fast because there's the cap of 7,000 and Street Fighter is always the biggest game, especially with some of the biggest prizes. So they're gonna go up front as fast as possible. With the other games, I guess they have a little more time. So we see a lot of late registrants the closer to EVO. So basically in a nutshell, these numbers don't really justify or say too much because it's so early. I guess it's more of a shock value thing right now. We're like, whoa, Street Fighter 6 just boomed so fast. We all know that Street Fighter 6 is Japan heavy, so it's not too much of a surprise. It's just when you see it on paper, it's like, damn, it's really blowing the rest of these games out the water, which you see these pie charts saying, hey, damn, is it really healthy for the FGC that we're so heavily invested in one game? So I don't know, a lot of good questions. In the state of Tekken, we can't deny it is not, I mean, it hasn't been good. It's been a circus over there. Doesn't mean that obviously the game is dead or anything like that, but it's very interesting. Then we had the recent retirement of Harada, which was huge. I wouldn't necessarily that affected the numbers of Tekken 8 players, but to people in the FGC, I mean, that was a huge loss. Then that other question that comes up, were we too hard on MK1? I saw this discourse brought in again. I'm gonna put it on the screen right here saying, so when all these other games have these low entry numbers at EVO Japan, all of a sudden it's okay to enjoy other games, play what you want. But when MK has low numbers compared to other fighting games, everybody got jokes posting it over here saying, or over this saying, the noticer. Then down below, I noticed doesn't have too much interaction, but you have some people saying, nah, you cooking, or LOL, they afraid of the Street Fighter community making fun of them. So here's the thing, even though this particular tweet doesn't have too much interaction, I've seen more debate on Incross's thread or other people saying like, yo, even the MK community is starting to kind of bring up this narrative. Like, okay, why is it okay now? But when we were low on the totem pole this whole time, everybody had jokes, but now it's like, okay, to enjoy other games and play what you want. Does it seem like we judge the MK community too harshly? I would say, no, fuck the MK community. I'm just playing. I had to take some medication, so I done took my pills right now. I'm cool. I'm back. I'm centered. No, but real talk. Let's be serious. I think that's a fair question. The FGC, not just the Street Fighter community. Let's be real. It hasn't just been other communities. It's also been heavily the NRS community that's been very hard on their own community. You know, when MK1 was a flop or when it was lacking all this content, the finals, like the last hurrah, was a complete shit show. The community was very outspoken. Hell, that's why I had so many stories at the time when it was on and popping, because they were one of the most vocal communities I had ever seen. But I think FGC, just the way we function, we're always kind of nitpicking or pointing out things like this, especially if the numbers are low, especially also if the prize money is low. We have seen this all the time throughout the years. And I noticed even Hungrybox posting on this over the pie chart graph right here saying, imagine if that other game was still at EVO. What you talk about, Hungry? And then I noticed some responses underneath Hungrybox, and okay, some of them are hilarious right here saying, clean up your community first, or you're right, Hungrybox, we do need Samurai Showdown, or yeah, you're right, we should have Xrd Rev 2 back at EVO, or Killer Instinct, and then you deserve less and should suffer more, and imagine the smell. I'm like, damn, this is right underneath his thread. This is not even the quote retweet. Shouldn't there be nothing but love underneath his thread? But you got some love. Some people saying Smash 6 at EVO 2028. Trust, and I haven't watched an EVO since Melee left. Generally ignored the FGC since, honestly. And there you have it. How y'all feeling? Is Tekken 8 in trouble? Were we too hard on MK1? Is it bad? Is it actually bad for the FGC if we're too heavily focused on one game? If one game is it. You know, real quick story. When I first came into the FGC, I was all about Street Fighter because honestly, that was the only game that really caught my attention coming up. I played and dibbled and dabbled in other ones, but that's why you see the lack of knowledge. A lot of times when I'm reading these stories, I'm learning with y'all, you know what I'm saying, throughout the years and through Dirty Low. But my main game has always been Street Fighter 6. When I first started, nowhere near Button Check or Bogus Journeys or anything like that. I was just attending like these tournaments. All I really cared about, honestly, was Street Fighter. That's the only series, Street Fighter was the only series I really cared about. And the way I always looked at it was like, it always seemed like Street Fighter had the biggest numbers, no matter what version of it was. So I kind of just got used to the fact, like, yes, we're FGC and there's a lot of other games, but it seemed like Street Fighter was the jocks, like the varsity team, the seniors, the high school, and everything else followed accordingly. So the comment that says it's bad for the community that Street Fighter 6 is so much bigger than everything else, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But if these numbers don't change, and if it is to the point where like everything's dwindling, you know what I'm talking about? Like we are losing like hella players in Tekken, and you know, MK is gone for now anyway. Smash community, I mean, they're still doing their thing. Matter of fact, I got a story coming up, but they're not on the radar, so to speak, especially for EVO. You got these games, right? Even 2XKO, that's an up and comer. What else we got? We got City of the Wolves, which I'm surprised that still ain't increasing to a point. Long story longer, what I'm trying to say is, if we do lose player bases, because not everybody plays Street Fighter, so if we are consistently losing these people in other communities, then yes, 100% it is bad, because that means ultimately the community is dwarfing in a way, but that is only assuming these numbers don't change. Anyways, there it is one more time. How y'all feeling? Definitely let me know. Hope you guys are having a good day. This will be the only video for the week, but I'll definitely post another one tomorrow. The second video on the second channel is up now. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We are getting more transparent than ever, and I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast finally being able to share all these really personal things with you guys. So much more to come. Love y'all forever, and as always, I don't know what it is, but I know somehow, some way, it's about to get better. Love y'all forever. Peace.
Blah, blah, blah. Subscribe.
Get ready!